All right, good day to my grade 9 students. So this time we are going to discuss all about solving equations, transformable to quadratic equation, including rational algebraic equations. So in this case, we will going to transform first and solve the equation or the given quadratic equation. So we have two examples here. So we have these transformable equations. Kung mapapansin nyo dito, itong isa is x times the quantity of x plus 5 equals 14. And let us see if this is quadratic equation and solve for the roots. And the other one is, you notice there is a denominator. So this is called rational algebraic equation because there is a presence of equal sign. And during your grade 8, ang tawag natin dito is RAA. RAE. So rational algebraic expressions noon dahil ito lang ay expression, walang equal. So in this time, magagamit nyo yung natutunan nyo ng grade 8 kayo na noon, ang ginagamit nyo is, ang ginagawa nyo is simplify. In this time, we are going to solve for the roots. Okay, so let us have the first example. Transform the following to standard form of quadratic equation, then solve for x. And always take note, standard form of quadratic equation. So always nyong keep ito kapag quadratic equation, you will have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And this is standard form. Basta naka-equate siya sa 0, this is standard form. So kailangan ganitong itsura niya and then mag-solve tayo ng roots. Then solve for x. Okay, so in this given, makikita ninyo, we have x times the sum of x and 5 equals 14. In this case, we need to distribute x. We need to use the distributive property. So x times x, to solve for it, we need to multiply this. X times x, we will have x squared. Then x times 5 is 5x. And since this is positive, we will write positive equals 14. Okay, so after the distributive property, and let's go back to this form, kailangan naka-standard form siya. So it is required that it should be equal to 0. So to make this 0, we need to add the additive inverse. So just copy 14, and if it's positive, gawin mo lang negative. So that is the additive inverse. Why? Because any number added to its inverse is equal to 0. And do not forget, this is an equation. What you add on this side will also add to the other side of the equation. So kopyahin nyo lang to. Kung anong nilagay nyo dito, yun din ang ilagay sa kabila. So this will be negative 14 plus 5x, and then the x squared. All right. So this is now an equation or quadratic equation in standard form. And we are now ready to solve for the roots or the x. Okay, remember that we have 4 methods in solving quadratic equation. Ano yan? Yung napag-aralan natin dati, yung extracting the roots, factoring, we have the completing the square, and the quadratic formula. So you choose which of these methods to solve for x. Okay, you must select. Okay, in this case, parang gusto kong mag-factoring dito. So ang gagawin ko, pag-factoring, dahil this is equal to, yung a natin is equal to 1, madali lang mag-factoring. O yan. Equate ko siya sa 0. So this is x. Anyway, you can also use quadratic formula. Kung saan kayo nadadalihan, yun ang gagamitin nyo to solve for the roots. But in this case, mas preferred ko ang factoring. Okay, so factoring gagamitin ko. Now, to do the factoring, kunin ko yung constant which is negative 14, and I will going to select the pairs. Yung factors of negative 14, and I know this is 7 times 2. One number must be negative. Kasi if we multiply an integers with unlike sign, the result is always negative. So I can also use positive 7 and negative 2. And you can also use positive 14 if you want. Or kung gusto nyo pang subukan, negative naman ito, negative 14 kasi it is also a factor. Ngayon, ang middle term ko is that positive. I-combine ko yan. Saan kaya dito makapagbibigay sa akin ng positive 5 kung pinag-combine? So unlike sign, addition of integers, subtract, then follow the sign of the greater absolute value. So subtract ko dito, and the greater number is positive, and this is 13, positive, negative 13. And sabi ko, middle term is positive, therefore, this is positive 5. And this would be our perfect pair. Yan. Diyan, dito naman negative 2. And take note, yan po yan. Tsaka yan. Now, we're ready to equate the two factors to 0. Yan. So, x plus 7 equals 0. Then the other one here, x minus 2 equals 0. Okay. So, to get the value of x here, we must also isolate the equation by adding the inverse of constant 7. So, positive, then negative yan, negative 7. Therefore, it is 0, then we only left with x equals 0 plus negative 7 is negative 7. This is now the value of x. Okay, we do the same here. So we will add the additive inverse of negative 2, which is positive 2, to both sides of the equation. So this will be cancelled. X now is equal to positive 2. Therefore, the values of x are negative 7 and 2. From this given equation, and by performing the given operations, just like this is applicable to do is by distributive property. After doing so, we will transform that into quadratic standard form. And after transforming into standard form, choose which of or what you want to apply. Kung quadratic formula ba, factoring, itong factoring ginawa ko dito, or quadratic formula, it is okay kung ano yung gagamitin niyo. Okay, so we solve for the values of x. Yan, negative 7 and positive 2. It is positive 2. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So let's proceed to another example. Okay, so this case, simultaneous tayo mag-distributive. Sa kabila kanina, one-sided lang. So in this case, twice tayo simultaneous. Let us do simultaneous distributive property. Yan. Okay lang yan. So we will distribute that. So x times x gives us x squared. X times 1, that is x. And since they are both positive, okay, the sign is positive. Next here, 3 times x will be 3x. And then 3 times 1 is 3. And the same, they have both side, but both sign is positive. That's why the sign is positive. All right, so do not forget again to transform that into standard form. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So meaning we want this to be 0. The only way to do that is to add the inverse of everything in this side. So gawin lang natin, yan, mag-inverse tayo. Okay, the purpose of that is to make the 0, 0, and 0 plus 0 is 0. Okay, now what we add here will also add it to the other side of the equation. So we'll just copy what we put on the right side, yan, and combine it to the expression on above. So here, I just copy negative 3. Here, we can combine x to negative x. And take note, pag walang nakalagay dyan na number, automatic, the coefficient is 1. So they have unlike sign, the idea is subtraction. If we subtract 3 and 1, the answer is 2, and just copy the variable x. And go back to the integers, which of these integers is greater absolute value. The greater number is 3 and the sign is negative. That's why we follow the sign negative. And just bring down x squared. Now we are ready to solve for the roots. In this case, I want to apply the quadratic formula. So I need to determine the values of a. Okay, the values of a is 1. And the value of b is negative 2. And the value of c is negative 3. Now we already determined the values of ABC, and we are now ready to solve for x by applying the quadratic formula. If you still recall the quadratic formula, this is negative b plus minus the square root of the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so this is the formula. So just plug in the given values or just substitute. So I put negative here. And then the value of b is negative 2. Then plus minus square root. Again, I will replace b here as the value negative 2. And do not forget the exponent 2. Minus 4. 4 here is constant, so just leave it 4. Copy. And let us replace the value of a given by 1. And the constant, which is negative 3. All right, so we are done on the numerator. Now let's proceed to the denominator. The same, yung 2 dito is the constant given in the formula. So just copy and replace a by its value 1. Right, so we are ready to simplify. Okay, so after substitution, simplify. So negative times negative will give us a positive integer. So this is positive 2 plus minus square root of negative 2 squared. So meaning we multiply negative 2 times negative 2 will give us a positive 4. Next, 1 times negative 3 will give us negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 4 will give us positive 12. Can you follow? Again, since multiplication is commutative, you can also do this. 4 times negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 3 will give us positive 12. Then 2 times 1 will give 2. We can still simplify the numbers inside the square root. So we will just copy the numbers which are not being simplified muna. Ito muna, unahin natin yung nasa loob ng square root. So 4 plus 12 will give us 16. Okay, then over 2. Then simplify, square root of 16. So copy ko muna yung mga hindi nagagalaw. Plus, minus, and the square root of 16 is 4 over 2. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, so let us separate plus or positive and negative on the on the numerator. Okay, so just copy yung 2 plus 4 over 2. And the other one, x is equal to 2. Then yung minus naman, minus 4 all over 2. Alright, so let us simplify first itong nasa taas. 2 plus 4 will give us 6 over 2. And then 6 divided by 2 will give us 3. And this is now our values of x, or root 1. Proceed to the next. Dito naman. Okay, so if we subtract this, we will get 2. And which is greater. The greater number is 4. That's why the sign is negative. Okay, so over 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. And negative divided by positive is negative. Therefore, it is our x sub 2. And the solution of this given transformable equations or equation are 3 and negative 1. So these are the numbers that will satisfy the equation. That if we substitute 3 here, so 3, pag sinubstitute natin yung 3 dyan, yan, plus 1, mag-i-equal siya pag pinarform natin. Yan, 3 plus 1. Okay, subukan natin ha. Let's do the checking. So 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Tignan nga natin. So 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 times 3 is also 12. So it satisfies the equation, even if we use negative 1 there. Okay, so if I replace this as negative 1, it will the equation is still satisfies. So if this is negative 1, and so this is negative 1. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. And the same, this is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Therefore, the solutions are correct. Now we know this how to solve transformable equations like this, and now you're ready to solve your answered activity. Okay, so you are going to transform that into standard form and then use factoring or quadratic formula to solve the given. Okay, so yan lang gagamitin nyo ha. This is what is required for you. Factoring or quadratic formula. Right, so what about in our second example? How to transform rational algebraic equation into standard form. So I'll show you now. Okay, first thing that you need to know to solve for this is determining the LCD. LCD is referring to the denominator. So the least common denominator. But at least, kung makikita nyo dito sa denominator, usually yung ginagawa lang natin is to eliminate the fractions or the denominator is just we copy the denominators. Ito oh. Yan, x minus 3 lang, multiply natin dyan. And then times 2. These two expressions here are in the denominator. So what we multiply on the right side of the equation will also apply in the left side of the equation. Okay, so what is the purpose of multiplying the denominator both sides? The purpose of this is to eliminate the denominator. So we are now ready to simplify. Let us do first here on the left side of the equation. So this expression multiplied to this will just give us a cancellation of the denominator, and we left with 2 times 4 only. So this will become 8. And denominator is eliminated. Why? It is because if you multiply the difference of x and 3 times 2 times 4 all over x minus 3 will also cancel the x minus 3 on the denominator. So we just cancel it, eliminate, and we will just left with 2 times 2 times 2 times 4. Okay, so let's proceed to the next term. Okay, distributive din ito. So now after the first term, and we will go back to the original factors here. And we will also multiply to the second term. Okay, so this case, ang may kakancel naman is 2. Yan. So cancel, and do not forget the positive here, plus, kasi plus yung ating nasa gitna. And that one is x minus 3 naman ang naiwan, multiplied to x. Okay, I hope you follow. I hope you understand this. Dito, kanina, nung nag-multiply tayo, na-cancel ito, at ang naiwan ay 2. And then, proceed to the next term. You consider the whole expressions, the whole factors. Then let us multiply again to this term. In this case, ang makakancel naman ay yung 2. At ang naiwan naman ay x minus 3 times the numerator x. Okay? Let us simplify that later. Now proceed to this term. Okay, since this has a variable x, so just copy x minus 3 muna. And yung constant, pwede natin pag-multiplyin yun. So 2 times 2 is 4, will give us also negative 4. Okay, so ganyan lang muna, step by step tayo. Inuna lang natin pinag-multiply yung constant. Alright, now we are ready. Okay, nakikita nyo ito, parang sa una na ito, naging kamukha na ng first example natin, nawala na yung denominators natin. Here, we will proceed to distributive property. Simplify natin by distributive property. Okay, so while doing that, just copy 8. Okay, so copy 8, then x times x will give us x squared. Then x times negative 3 will give us negative 3x. Proceed to the right side. Negative 4 times x will give us negative 4x. And then negative 4 times negative 3 will give us positive 12. Take note of this. Negative times negative gives us positive result. Then 3 times 2, 12. Moving on. Okay, so standard form of quadratic equation. Do not forget this standard form that ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, kailangan kasi naka-0 yan. Okay, so we want this to be 0. That's why we need to add the additive inverse of this. So I will add positive 4x. And I will add negative 12. Why? Because we want them to be 0. So this will become 0. Then this will become 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. The same, what we add on this side will also add it to the other side of the equation. Okay, so ang gagawin ko dito, itapat ko lang yung may variable x dun sa may variable x din. Then this is negative, plus 4x. Okay, now this is constant, so I'm going to put negative 12 here. Okay, magkauri sila, di ba? Pareha silang constant, so itapat ko. Ito naman pareha silang may variable na x, itapat ko din. And let us combine them. So here, unlike sign, so subtract. If we subtract that, we will get 1. 1x, or we will have x only, and which is greater, 4. What's the sign of 4? Positive. So we will write positive x. Just copy x squared. And the sign is positive. Here, okay, so if we subtract this, we will get 4. Okay, so which is greater? The sign is negative. Okay, you notice that the given is equal to 0, but it is not arranged as looks like the standard form. So in this case, we just rearrange them. It will rearrange the terms. So yung first term natin, take note that will be x squared. And then our second term must be yung may variable x. So this will be plus x. I'm sorry for that, right? I'm sorry doon sa sulat kong napakaganda. Mouse lang kasi yung hawak natin. So this is x. Then the constant will be put here, negative 4 equals 0. Okay, now we are ready to solve for x. In this case, I want to use quadratic formula. If I want to use quadratic formula, I will identify the values of a, the value of b, and the value of c. Right, so after determining that, ready na tayo mag-solve gamit ang quadratic formula. Yan. Tandaan nyo lang ito dahil ito ay napaka-useful sa pag-solve ng roots. Any quadratic equation in general, itong quadratic formula na ito. Okay, so we are now ready to substitute. Pag nag-substitute tayo, copy lang yung negative and then replace yung b. b is 1 plus minus square root. And b also, again, is 1. Do not forget the exponent 2 minus 4. The value of a is 1. Then the value of c is negative 4. Okay. And let's proceed to the denominator. 2 is constant, meaning that is given in the formula. And 1 is changed to 1. Ang a natin. Then simplify the numerator. Here, negative times positive is negative. Therefore, we will have negative 1. Plus minus square root of 1 squared is 1 times 1. This is a common mistake of students na napagkakamalan nila yung 1 squared is 2. This is wrong. Okay? The meaning of 1 squared is 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay? I hope that's clear. So 1 squared is 1. Here, 4 times 1, or negative 4 times 1 is 4, or negative 4. Kasi negative times positive is negative. And then negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. I hope that you understand it. Again, you can also do this first. Pwede rin kasi commutative ang multiplication. Negative 4 times 1, negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Then 2 times 1 will give us 2. Okay, simplify muna natin yung numerator. So this is negative 1 plus minus square root of 1 plus 16 is equal to 17. Over 2. And If you notice that the number inside the radical is 17, which is not a perfect square, and also it is a prime, meaning there is no way to simplify it. You can only simplify it using its decimal form, but it is accepted that our root 1 will be negative 1 plus square root of 17 over 2, and the other one will be negative 1. Oh, we are done with positive, so minus naman. Minus square root of 17 over 2. And this is now the solution. Negative 1 plus square root of 17 over 2 and negative 1 minus square root of 17 over 2. Alright. So kung mapapansin niyo ito, 17 is not a perfect square. And we notice also 17 is a prime number. Therefore, there's no way to simplify it unless you will use the decimal form. Okay, so no need to use the decimal point. It is now accepted to use the simplified. Is the square root of 17. All right, so that's it. I hope you understand this lesson. Okay, so let's proceed to the next example. So here we are also determine first the LCD, and we multiply this LCD to both sides of the equation. Okay, so we notice that the LCD here is x squared. So copy lang natin yung x squared. X squared to both sides of the equation. Okay? Or we can also use x times x. Yan, x times x. Okay lang din yan because x times x is x squared. That's why it is the LCD. Paano ba nakuha yung LCD? Ito kasi yun. Ito ay parang 1/4 plus 3 halves. What is their LCD? Their LCD is 4. 4 ang LCD nila equals 7 ito. Yan yung parang example nito that the LCD of this is 4. That's why we multiply 4 to both sides. In this case, I want to use 2 times 2 para makita nyo dito mamaya. Gagamitin ko dito naman ay x times x because x times x also give us x squared. Right. So in this term, we know that this is x squared, so we will cancel, and we will left with 1. Then minus. And then here, we can cancel x, and we left with x alone. So x times 3 will give a result of 3x. Okay, that's the purpose why I expand x squared to x times x, so that you visualize that if I cancel 1x here, and we will left with 1x that will be multiplied to 3. So yun, yung reason kung bakit ko ginawa yung expand yung x squared into x times x. Okay, let's proceed. So x squared or x times 7 will give us 7x squared. And do not forget, it should be in standard form. Para maging standard form ito, I need to subtract 7x squared to both sides. Okay, negative 7x squared. And equal sign ito, this will be 0 now. And you must follow the quadratic standard form na i-arrange natin na ganito, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So meaning, yung may x squared dito sa una, 7x squared. Then yung may x variable, 3x. And then yung constant natin na 1. Alright, so in your previous lesson, it is in standard form if the coefficient of the x squared is positive. So to make this positive, we will change all the sign of each term. Okay, so we will change all the sign of each term by multiplying all the terms by negative 1. Okay, so negative times negative, or this means that we will change all. This will be 7x, positive 7x squared. Dating negative, magiging positive 3x. Dating positive, magiging negative lang yan. So 0 times any number is 0. So this is now the standard form. And we are ready again to solve using quadratic formula. Yan ang a natin, yung b natin ay 3, yung c natin ay negative 1. Right? So solve for x using quadratic formula. Okay, memorize nyo na ito. Negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Substitute again to this formula sa negative. Then we will replace the value of b, which is positive 3. Then plus minus square root of yung b natin ulit. Ang b natin is 3, positive 3. Do not forget the square. Minus 4. I will extend this. Yung a natin is 7 times c, which is negative 1. And proceed to the denominator. 2 times a is 7. Okay. Simplify. So negative times positive is negative. So that's why this is negative 3. Plus minus square root of 3 squared is 9. Okay, so let's do this first. 7 times negative 1 is negative 7. Negative 7 times negative 4 will give us positive 21. 27 times 4 is 28. Sorry, that's 28. Okay, so 2 times 4, that will give us 14. All right, so let's simplify the numbers inside the radicals. So just copy the numbers or the other numbers which are not being simplified. So ito magiging 37. Then over 14. Okay, so this time, now since this is not a perfect square again, then we are now ready to separate. X of 1 na natin is negative 3 plus square root of 37 over 14. And then the other one is negative 3 minus. This time is minus. Kasi plus na yung kanina, minus naman tayo. Square root of 37 over 14. And this is now the solution. Okay, so that is how are we going to solve for x in a given rational algebraic equation. To do the rational algebraic equation, you must determine the LCD and multiply it to both sides. And after multiplying to both sides, magiging ganito ang itsura. Then you need to transform that into standard form and rearrange it. To rearranging it, you are going to determine the values of ABC and apply it into quadratic formula. So, yan lang. And I hope you're ready to answer this. Activity 1. Dali-dali ng activity nito. Identify lang kung ito ay rational or not. Okay, anong palatandaan nyo kung rational? Yung mga variable x, kung nasa baba siya or mayroon siyang fraction, it is rational. Okay? So, yan. This is rational, rational. Ito, not rational. How about number 2? Kung makikita nyo, sabi ko yung may x lang. Here, okay naman yung x. Ito, pwede mo pag-simplify. 8 over 4 is 2. So, hindi na siya rational. Basta ang palatandaan nyo dito sa rational, mayroong fraction sa x. Next. Dito naman, yung last na sinolve natin, you are going to determine the value of x using factoring or quadratic formula by, yan, mag-multiply kayo ng LCD. Okay, so that's it. If you have some questions in this lesson, we are one chat away. Inform me kung saan kayo nahihirapan dito sa lesson na ito. And that's it. And have a good day and stay safe.